This year's playoffs were nothing short of insane.
Jones! He is that guy!
We witnessed the 5th seed Dallas Mavericks dominate the Western Conference, becoming only the second 5th seed team to reach the NBA Finals. Luka Doncic and company played so well that it didn't seem shocking to anyone they had entered the playoffs as a major underdog. Do you remember the similar journey of an 8 seed just a year ago? I know. For some, a year can feel like a lifetime ago. But it was just last year's playoffs when the 8 seed Miami Heat fought through the Eastern Conference on an impossible journey to reach the NBA Finals. It was a historic run full of hurdles.
Right into the hands of Capella. Murray, the corner pop. Splash for DeJounte. Hawks come into Miami and knock off the Heat.
Where everything had to go just right. Playoff Jimmy showcased superhuman efforts with 56-point games, calculated circus shots, and making clutch shots when his team needed it. Caleb Martin showed us all his inner MJ during 26-point closeout games and master fadeaways. Bam Adebayo was making clutch blocks and throwing down putback dunks. The 8th seed Miami Heat were playing like a team possessed. For an 8th seed, making the NBA Finals almost seemed like an impossible task. It was such a historic run, it felt like it had never happened before. But let's rewind 25 years, back to when a team reminded us that the impossible was possible. The 1998-1999 New York Knicks. This unlikely group caught fire at just the right time and was the first 8th seed to rewrite history and reach the NBA Finals. These Knicks players became household names and captured the hearts of Knicks fans forever. Move out of the way, Disney. Here's the Cinderella story for the ages. The year is 1998. The NBA is in complete turmoil. Michael Jordan wins his 3rd straight championship, then announces retirement again. Phil Jackson leaves the Bulls and vows to never coach again. Scottie Pippen goes to Houston, and the Bulls go from top of the world to hot garbage. But it wasn't just the Bulls who were about to face a dark future. Kevin Garnett signed a massive 6-year, $126 million contract. This was the richest multi-year package in team sports history. This contract, many credit for sending the league into a lockout. The lockout spanned 204 days and resulted in the loss of $500 million in player salaries. Times were tough, and NBA players had no idea when they might be employed again. Grant Hill and Tim Duncan starred in a spoof handyman Sprite commercial showcasing what these desperate times might look like.
Because who knows when our season's gonna start?
This commercial rubbed many people the wrong way. Kenny Anderson was considering selling one of his 8 cars to help keep his family afloat. Some players ran overseas to keep a paycheck. It was a dark time in NBA history. Once the lockout concluded, the league decided there would still be a 50-game season played over the course of 90 days. Teams got back to business as usual and worked to build a contending roster. The New York Knicks were a team that had a lot to accomplish before the season began. Jeff Van Gundy was serving his 3rd year as the team's coach and needed to get Patrick Ewing some help offensively and defensively. The Knicks had lost in the Eastern Conference semifinals the last 4 years in a row and needed to change that. The Knicks looked for help in very unsuspecting places when they traded fan favorite John Starks to the Warriors for Latrell Sprewell. Sprewell hadn't played in an NBA game in over a year following his suspension for choking and threatening to kill his coach, PJ Carlesimo. This left a significant question mark regarding his character and potential contribution to the team. Adding to these changes, the New York front office parted ways with another longtime Knick, Charles Oakley, who was considered the heart and soul of the team, when they traded him to the Toronto Raptors for an injury-plagued 6'11" forward, Marcus Camby. The team felt compelled to trade away age and experience for youth and potential. Additionally, they beefed up their roster by signing free agent power forward Kurt Thomas. These new additions joined a veteran core headlining of Patrick Ewing, Larry Johnson, Charlie Ward, Chris Dudley, and Allen Houston. These veterans were very excited about the offseason acquisitions.
You know, I'm like, man, Spree is a great dude. Spring, that dude is all right. Bring that dude here, we good. we good.
And were ready to put the league on notice that year. The season started rough for the Knicks when they lost the first 2 games. Then 5 days later, Latrell Sprewell was placed on the injured list with a stress fracture on his right heel. He missed 13 games before his return and primarily came off the bench for the Knicks. Between injuries and the shortened season, the Knicks weren't able to reach their maximum potential. The chemistry wasn't developed, and their record reflected that. 2 weeks before the playoffs, the Knicks sat at an underwhelming 21-21 record. The Knicks won 6 of their last 8 games to narrowly grab the 8th seed before season's end. Once in the playoffs, the Knicks found themselves in a challenging position, matched up against the number 1 seed Miami Heat, led by Pat Riley, who had departed amidst heated contract negotiations 3 years prior, a memory Knicks fans didn't easily forget. This matchup was intensified by their recent playoff matchups, fueling a heated rivalry between the 2 teams, a rivalry that 2 years prior had turned into a P.J. Brown body slam that erupted into a fight. Then the 1998 Knicks and Heat brawl, where the fight broke out between Larry Johnson and Alonzo Mourning, who both needed a few lessons from Mike Tyson.
Neither one of them connected.
No, but it's just awful.
Then Knicks coach Jeff Van Gundy lanced onto Mourning's leg like a dog in heat, requiring half the team to pry him off. So, to say the least, these teams had some history and beef to settle. The Miami Heat had a star-studded roster including Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway Sr., P.J. Brown, and Jamal Mashburn. Adding to the Knicks' difficulties, their leading scorer, Patrick Ewing, was battling an injured Achilles tendon, setting the stage for a playoff campaign fraught with obstacles. The Knicks started the series with a 20-point blowout on the Heat's home court. That led to the Heat turning the series around with a 10-point win to send them to New York. The teams traded wins in New York and set the stage for a hard-fought Game 5 to advance. During Game 5, it was more apparent than ever how injured Patrick Ewing truly was. He wasn't about to let that stop him in a game this important, though. The Knicks stars also picked up their teammate and showed how deep their roster truly was. The Heat didn't have any Game 5 answers for Sprewell's speed and skills, Camby's size and youth, and Larry Johnson's strength and finesse. The Heat wouldn't quit, though, and reminded us they weren't the number 1 seed by accident. With 19 seconds left, the Knicks called a timeout. The game was 77-76 in favor of Miami. The defensive battle came down to one final shot to decide the heated series. The original play becomes a mess, and the Knicks almost turn the ball over. That's when a second inbound play happens with 4 seconds remaining. The ball is inbounded to sharpshooter Allen Houston, who makes one of the most memorable shots in New York basketball history to seal the game and series victory. Houston explains this shot caused temporary insanity for some Knicks fans.
I'll still get people coming up to me and telling me what they were doing. Most of the time they got hurt. They either hit their head, they turned their ankle, and one lady told me she almost got hit by a car because she just ran out in the street in the Bronx.
The 8th seed Knicks upset their biggest rivals and moved on to face the Atlanta Hawks. The Knicks cruised past the Atlanta Hawks and swept the series in 4 games. This made the Knicks the first 8th seed to ever appear in the conference finals. This matched them up against Reggie Miller's Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. This was a team the Knicks had historically struggled against. The Knicks took the first game, and the Pacers took the next. The Knicks took a huge blow when it was announced that Patrick Ewing's left Achilles tendon gave out. He would no longer be available for the remainder of the playoffs. With the series tied at 1 game apiece and Ewing out, Game 3 was in need of a hero. New York found themselves down 3 points with 11.9 seconds left. The Knicks required a huge shot to get ahead in the series. The inbound play gets tipped, but is grabbed by Larry Johnson. Time is ticking away as he thinks about his next move. He makes a quick move left and releases the shot right as the foul is called. Bam! The ball goes in, and he has the potential for a 4-point play to lead the game. He makes the free throw, and the Knicks hold off the final shot to move ahead in the series. The Pacers win Game 4 to tie the series back up. That's when New York's heroes really stepped up. In Game 5, Latrell Sprewell scored 29 points, and Marcus Camby had a 21-point double-double. Their efforts masked the 30-point game of Reggie Miller. The series went back to New York and gave the Knicks a chance to accomplish the impossible in front of their home crowd. The Knicks started the game sluggish, and that's when Allen Houston caught fire. He couldn't miss and carried his team with a 32-point performance to send them to the NBA Finals. They did it! This underdog 8th seed team had accomplished something that had never been done before and left a mark in the history book. It was the Cinderella story for the ages. The Knicks played their hearts out in the NBA Finals, but ultimately came up short. The absence of Patrick Ewing in height was missed more than ever against Tim Duncan and David Robinson. The young Marcus Camby was on an island all alone, and the two big men dominated the paint. Many wonder if the fate of this series would have been different if Patrick Ewing was healthy. Either way, they ran into a train that wasn't about to stop. This was the beginning of the Greg Popovich Spurs dynasty that won 4 NBA titles in a span of 8 years. Despite losing in the NBA Finals, this New York Knicks team was special. They were a team on a mission that nobody expected to accomplish what they did. Latrell Sprewell, Allen Houston, Larry Johnson, Patrick Ewing, Kurt Thomas, Marcus Camby, and Charlie Ward all became household names in the Knicks uniform. They built the friendships and chemistry to last and go down as one of the most underrated teams of all time.